You stepped into her life and did what you thought every woman wanted. You showed up on time. You answered messages instead of disappearing. You listened instead of brushing her off. You didn't disappear for days or make her wonder what she meant to you. You were attentive, consistent, and honest. For a while, everything seemed to click. Her eyes lit up when she saw you. Her touch lingered. Her replies came quickly. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, something changed. Her texts got shorter. Her enthusiasm softened. Her presence felt lighter, like she was there but not fully with you. And what makes it so confusing is that you didn't suddenly become unreliable. You didn't insult her, cheat, or turn cold. You didn't mess up in any obvious way. What you're about to hear isn't designed to soothe your ego. It's meant to tell you how things actually work inside a woman's psychology, not how you wish they worked. It's the difference between living in a fantasy and finally understanding the rules of the environment you're in. And you're not hearing this guessed at from the outside. You're hearing it from a woman saying the things most women only feel and rarely verbalize directly to men. Most men grow up believing something that sounds noble and reassuring. If I love her deeply, she'll love me back. If I'm honest, loyal, consistent, and patient, that has to be enough. That story is comforting. It also sets you up to be blindsided. Men typically approach love as an act of their acceptance. When a man loves, he sees the entire woman, flaws and all, and decides, this is you and I still choose you. His love is anchored to identity. Female attraction does not operate from that same anchor. A woman can care about you, feel connected to you, and still feel her desire slip if you stop embodying the traits that first pulled her in. Her attraction isn't tied permanently to who you are in a fixed, static way. It's reacting to what you consistently radiate, your presence, your direction, your strength, your boundaries. This is where men get hurt. They confuse emotional closeness with lasting desire. They think, she cried with me, she opened up, she said she loved me. That must mean we're safe now. But for most women, feelings are not carved into stone. They're states that shift as the emotional environment shifts. If your inner stance changes, if you lose your backbone, your independence, your edge, her experience of you changes with it. The man most at risk in modern dating is not the obvious jerk. It's the man who assumes that once a woman loves him, that love is secure regardless of how he shows up inside himself. When you believe affection is guaranteed simply because you're a good guy who cares, you stop guarding the very qualities that made you attractive in the first place. When many men hear the word strength, they imagine height, muscles, social status, or income. Those things can get attention at the start, but they don't hold a woman once the novelty fades. A woman doesn't stay attached to your possessions or your image. She locks on to how you show up when life is heavy, when plans fall apart, when emotions run high. The strength that matters most to her is quieter and reveals itself in subtle moments. That kind of strength shows up primarily in 3 areas. The first is emotional regulation, not pretending you don't feel, but being able to feel without losing your balance. When she's anxious, upset, or testing where the emotional limits are, your ability to stay grounded instead of spiraling with her creates an immediate sense of safety. She doesn't need you emotionless. She needs you not to be emotionally hijacked by her every mood. The second area is mental direction. A man who has a sense of where he's going in life doesn't constantly beg for reassurance that his path is correct. He can make decisions, own them, and adjust without apologizing for existing. He doesn't defend his worth with long speeches, nor does he argue to be seen as valuable. His clarity creates its own pull. People feel it even when he's silent. The third is inner sufficiency. This is more than paying your own bills. It's the psychological reality that your life functions with or without her. She can absolutely enhance it, but it doesn't collapse without her. When a woman senses that her presence has become a requirement for your emotional stability, something in her body relaxes in the wrong way. Respect loosens, attraction starts to thin out. Imagine two men under the same stress. Money problems, arguments, uncertainty. One becomes clingy, needs constant assurance, overexplains, and tries desperately to repair every emotional wobble between them. The other feels the same pressure but responds differently. He observes, adjusts, sets boundaries where needed, and continues moving forward without gripping at her for stability. On paper, these men might seem similar. Emotionally, they are worlds apart. Women don't truly connect to a man because of the sweet promises he makes when things are easy. They fall for the man who stays internally steady when everything is messy. They are not listening only to how much you care. They are watching who you become when life doesn't cooperate. Here's what most men overlook. A woman rarely sits there consciously asking, "How much does he love me?" The deeper question running in the background is, when life gets hard, does he collapse or remain centered? Her body answers that question long before her words do. And if your center keeps crumbling under pressure, her attraction won't loudly argue about it. It will quietly retreat. In most relationships, attraction doesn't die in some huge explosion. It usually slips away in a series of small, almost invisible moments. Long before she says, "I'm confused," or "I don't feel the same anymore," something underneath has been shifting. Her mind and body are constantly updating how they experience you based on what they repeatedly see. That process isn't conscious calculation. It's more like an ongoing recalibration of your value as a partner. The hard truth is that men often help that devaluation along without realizing it. Every time you give from a place of fear rather than fullness, you subtly change how she experiences you. When you stay silent about what bothers you because you're afraid she'll pull away, that registers. When you accept treatment you secretly resent because you're terrified of conflict or abandonment, that registers too. You might label these choices being understanding, being patient, or being loving. But her body doesn't file them under kindness. It files them under, "He's afraid to rock the boat because he can't stand the idea of losing me." And once that impression forms, everything else you do is filtered through it. Your apologies sound less like integrity and more like appeasement. Your gifts feel less like generosity and more like bargaining. A woman's nervous system is always, often unconsciously, checking for two things: stability and strength. She needs to feel that the person she's letting into her life won't crumble the moment she withdraws a little approval or sets a boundary. When she instead senses that you're desperate to keep her no matter how you're treated, you stop feeling like sturdy ground. Desire doesn't stay loyal to a man who feels like he's standing on eggshells. This is why so many men say, "I treated her better than anyone ever has, and she still left." That statement is often true from their perspective. They did more. They gave more. They sacrificed more. But attraction is not built like a merit system. You don't earn desire the way you earn a promotion at work. Attraction responds less to how hard you try and more to the position you hold in yourself while you try. The quickest way to erode a woman's desire is not by being rude or selfish. It's by revealing over and over that you can't emotionally afford her absence. When that belief settles in, your presence stops feeling free and starts feeling needy. Your attention feels heavy, your affection starts to seem calculated, as if there's a silent contract she never agreed to. Ironically, the more you sense her slipping away, the more you tend to do the very things that push her further. Over-explaining, over-giving, over-communicating, chasing for reassurance. Instead of restoring your value, each move confirms her new internal story about you, that you're acting from fear, not from grounded choice. And once that story locks in, reversing it becomes incredibly difficult. Men are often taught that time is the purest proof of love. Spend more time together and the bond should strengthen. More dates, more calls, more nights over, more constant presence. On the surface, this sounds perfectly logical. But a woman's attraction system doesn't interpret unlimited access that way. Time that is too easy to obtain doesn't feel like deep devotion to her. It often feels like you have no other structure, no competing priorities, no backbone. When your schedule constantly bends around her, when you're available at any hour, when you drop everything as soon as she calls, your time stops having weight. And when your time has no weight, it loses meaning. She stops experiencing your presence as something chosen and starts reading it as automatic. And once your presence feels automatic, it no longer generates the same pull. Desire needs some tension, some contrast, some sense that you have a life outside of her. This is where many men misread what's happening. They think we're seeing each other more, so we must be getting closer. Meanwhile, her body is reading a different message. If he's always accessible to me, nothing else in his life is more important than I am. That might sound flattering, but it doesn't feel sexy. It feels like you've emotionally collapsed into her world rather than inviting her into a full, already moving life. True scarcity isn't about playing games or pretending to be busy. It's about real self-respect and structure. A man who values his own time sends a signal without needing to announce it. His calendar includes his work, his mission, his friends, his health, his solitude. When he spends time with her, it feels intentional, not default. She can feel that he's not abandoning himself to be with her. He's choosing to integrate her into a meaningful life. When time is given without rhythm or boundaries, every night, every moment, on demand, it slowly stops feeling special. What began as excitement turns into expectation. She no longer has to earn your attention. It's just there, like background noise. An attraction rarely flourishes around what feels guaranteed and effortless to obtain. Tied closely to this is a distinction most men never learn to see: the difference between appreciation and validation seeking. Appreciation says, I notice you and I value you, from a solid core. Validation seeking whispers, please notice me so I can feel okay. The words might sound similar: compliments, reassurances, sweet messages, but the emotional source is different. When a man compliments from a place of inner steadiness, it lands clean. It feels masculine, generous, uncomplicated. But when his praise is an attempt to secure a reaction, to get a smile, to hear, I like you too, so he can relax, everything subtly shifts. She may not consciously label it, but her body picks up the neediness underneath. And neediness, especially early on, doesn't deepen attraction. It quietly drains it. This shift becomes most visible in vulnerable moments, especially after intimacy. Many men, feeling closer and more attached, start talking excessively right then. They pour out their fears, confess how invested they already are, ask for reassurance, or reveal anxieties they haven't yet learned to hold on their own. They believe they're building deeper connection through honesty. What they're often building instead is emotional dependence. Closeness without a strong frame doesn't make a woman feel more drawn in. It makes her feel burdened. Attraction lives in polarity, the dynamic where she can relax into her feelings while trusting that you are steady inside your own. The moment you lean on her to keep you emotionally steady, that polarity cracks. She doesn't feel cherished. She feels like she has to be your therapist, your anchor, your emotional regulator. Responsibility replaces desire. This is why women so often say, I don't know what changed, I just feel different. There usually wasn't a single dramatic incident. It was the accumulation of moments where your emotional footing shifted from, I like you and choose you, to, I need you to be okay. Her attraction didn't exit with a grand announcement. It quietly drained out as she realized you were standing on her, not beside her. Modern dating makes another major mistake easy to fall into: constant communication. Men assume that frequent texting keeps the bond alive, that replying immediately shows interest, that checking in all day prevents another guy from taking their place. But from her side, never-ending contact doesn't feel like romance. It feels like you're monitoring her, orbiting her, or filling your emptiness with her attention. A man who messages constantly without purpose doesn't come across as mysterious or deeply invested. He comes across as unoccupied. The problem isn't texting itself, it's what your texting patterns reveal about your life. If you're always available to chat, always on your phone, always ready to respond within seconds, she naturally wonders what, if anything, competes for your focus. And when nothing competes, your perceived value drops. The same dynamic applies to commitment offered too fast. Many men try to prove sincerity by locking things down early, defining the relationship, pledging exclusivity, declaring deep loyalty before enough shared experience exists. To them, it feels romantic, decisive, chivalrous. To many women, it reads as urgency and fear. It suggests you're choosing commitment to feel safe rather than choosing her based on patient discernment. Real commitment has weight only when it's earned through time, consistency, mutual respect, and sustained polarity. When you offer it before those elements are in place, it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like you're trying to secure her before she's fully chosen you. Safety without real desire quickly feels smothering, not soothing. She doesn't need immediate guarantees. She needs to see who you are over time and whether your center holds. There is one kind of power that reliably changes how a woman behaves around a man, and most men never fully develop it. It isn't controlling her, manipulating her, or intimidating her. It's the simple, lived ability to walk away with your self-respect intact. Not as a bluff, not as a threat you hang over her head, but as a deeply embodied truth. I want you, but I do not need you to remain whole. The moment a man can't leave, emotionally, sexually, or psychologically, everything about him subtly shifts. Even if he tries to act confident, his tone tightens. His choices become softer, his boundaries get fuzzy. He starts staying in situations that violate his standards because the thought of losing her feels unbearable. Women feel this on an instinctive level. When they sense a man is trapped by his own attachment, testing begins. These tests aren't always conscious cruelty. They are her nervous system searching for solidity. She might push a button, cross a line, withdraw affection, or challenge your boundaries just to see what happens. When your response is to cling harder, explain more, or endure mistreatment instead of stepping back or leaving, she gets her answer. You're not anchored in self-respect. You're anchored in fear, and fear doesn't feel safe. It feels weak. The paradox most men never grasp is this. A woman feels most secure with the man who could leave but freely chooses not to. Not a man who stays because he has no inner alternative. When you can walk away, you don't need to persuade her of your worth. You don't need to beg, chase, or over-justify yourself. Your presence carries weight specifically because it's optional. You are there by choice, not compulsion. Layered into all of this is how you handle your own desire. A man doesn't lose a woman's attraction because he wants her. He loses it when wanting her takes the steering wheel of his life. When lust or infatuation starts driving your decisions, your priorities quietly shift. Your mission gets sidelined, your standards soften, your world narrows until she becomes the center of your universe. Women feel this instantly. Your gaze starts to lean. Your energy turns from grounded to grasping. What began as exciting attention transforms into something that feels consuming. Many men respond by seeking even more closeness, assuming that more intimacy will cement the bond. But desire without self-mastery doesn't build attraction, it erodes your gravity. Men who can experience desire while staying loyal to their direction are the ones who end up being truly magnetic. They don't suppress their attraction, they simply don't let it own them. Their focus remains anchored in their purpose, values, and standards. That quiet command over themselves reads as strength, not distance. And strength is what feminine attraction ultimately orients around. If any of this stung, that's usually a sign something real got touched. You didn't lose women because you weren't enough as a human being. You lost position inside yourself trying to prove you were worthy. You gave past the point of self-respect, stayed when you should have stepped back, confused effort with value and attachment with power. Women don't fall for self-erasure. They fall for men who bring a full, grounded life to the table and refuse to abandon themselves to be loved. If you're ready to become that kind of man, the one women respect, naturally, without you campaigning for it, keep learning, apply this, and share it with any man you see making these quiet, costly mistakes.